because it says we're live. And we're live. Okay. All right. Well, I'm very excited, you guys. I know several of you RSVP'd for it, but it's also going to be in the group. So no worries if you weren't able to watch it live. I would love for you guys to put #live or #replay in the Facebook group. I'd love to see how you guys are watching it, to see what times you're watching it as well. And then also I'd love for you to add where you are watching from. We've got people represented all over the world. I'm coming from the Bay Area in San Francisco Bay Area, Northern California. Cinthia, go ahead, tell everyone where
I'm in Argentina. So yeah, way
and
down there below Brazil.
Yeah, we have people from all over. And today I'm so extremely grateful that Cinthia graciously does these master classes with our group. For the time being, it's not a forever thing, but as long as she's willing, we're willing to have her. So if you have any questions or would love Cinthia to cover something else, put that also in the comments, because she's in this group too. She'll see it and maybe, just maybe, she'll create a masterclass for you. Today, we're going to be talking about beginner Google Analytics reports for small businesses. This was my request because it's always needed. Always, always, always. And because Cinthia has a way of explaining the super technical, difficult SEO stuff and Google Analytics stuff, she's the perfect person to deliver this information. So have you been avoiding your Google Analytics like I have on occasion? This beginner's training will give you clear steps to understanding 2 foundational reports in Google Analytics and to start making decisions around your marketing and content in your business. Hello, does that not fit so well? She's going to be sharing a service that she has also, if this is something that you want to just sort of learn from an expert specifically. And we'll have that information in there. But in the interim, please take it away, Cinthia. Thank you so much for coming.
Yeah, thanks, Jen. And I love being in this community. This is our 3rd training. So go back, you guys can watch the replays for the other ones as well, but I actually learn a lot from you guys too. So that's why, yeah, there's just areas of small business that get avoided. And that's kind of why I'm here. I feel like I am like really excited about it. So yes, let's talk about Google Analytics and what it means for your business. So a little bit just what we're going to be covering, like why Google Analytics, whether you have been avoiding it, or if you haven't, maybe it's just a moment to pause and think about why we use it as a tool and why it can be really helpful. We're going to be talking a little bit about goals and, again, understanding Google Analytics as a tool to connect and just make better decisions in our business to reach those goals, and also kind of unlock our secret sauce of success, because we follow different people. Like I have my community that I teach. Jen has her Pinterest community. But I think a lot of us are finding like this kind of combo of different strategies that works for us. And this is great with Google Analytics because it gives us that information, which I'm going to be sharing in this training. And then as Jen kind of hinted, I do have a little service and a surprise at the end of the presentation. So I love this image because I feel like it perfectly encapsulate what some of you feel when you look at Google Analytics. It's like you're in this like maybe submarine. I don't know, maybe someone knows what this is. It could be like maybe some sort of ship or something, or maybe it's just a computer, like an old computer. But there's all these like screens and reports and you're like buttons and you're like, like, why am I even here? And so I want you for just a minute to like connect with that and that overwhelm. And it's totally normal. And I want to normalize it because just like a little history, Google Analytics initially wasn't designed for business owners. It was actually designed for IT and for people who are technical. And so the Google as a business and as a company has improved the tool. It's come very far, but it's still it can be a little bit on the tech side. And so that's not to discourage you. It's just to give you some context that it's not you, it's not you, it's me. It's like, the tool was just never initially designed for the business owners, but Google is smart. They want business owners to understand and to use Google because it's free. And there is always also, when you connect your Google Analytics, they also they give you that check mark that they can access your data. So to them, it's very, very helpful for them to have that. Anyway, I could talk more about that later if you guys want, but it's okay to feel overwhelmed. And that's why we're here in this training. We're going to try and get over that overwhelm. And also to kind of speak to that, there may be some mindset blocks that come up, even before opening the tool. First of all, you're like, I have to be into statistics. I need to have taken some sort of statistics degree. No, absolutely not. Again, Google has made improvements in this area. And with just some simple concepts, you can actually understand a few reports that will help you make decisions in your business. So you don't need to be good at numbers. You don't need to be into statistics at all to use the tool. Something else that comes up with a lot of people is there's so many reports in Google Analytics, right? And so in order to make the most of the tool, you need to know all the reports and they need to make sense. No, actually in this training, I'm going to be showing you 2 reports. And with those 2, you can probably actually do a lot and you wouldn't need to look at a lot else if you just wanted to start with that. And so I want to, again, bust that myth that you need to understand it all to make full use of the tool. And then the last one is that, and this is an interesting one, some people have said to me, well, I don't really want to look at the numbers because they're going to tell me something that I don't really want to know because I want to go in this direction in my business, right? So let's say the numbers are saying that this type of marketing is doing well, but you actually don't like doing that type of marketing. And so that restriction, it can kind of feel like you're tied down by the numbers. And we're going to talk about that. And again, that's something that you can decide as the CEO of your business, how you use those numbers. The tool is giving you a perspective, and then you can decide how you take ownership. But the awareness is so powerful. And it's just like you wouldn't ignore your finance numbers, at least for a bit. You can't, because you need to know how your company is doing. The same thing with Google Analytics. Knowing how your marketing and your content, your website is performing is going to help you make better decisions. All right, so let's take ownership of our numbers and use them to make smart and intuitive business decisions connected with our version of success. And this is really what I hope that you walk away today in this training. So a little bit about me, just taking a pause, but I wanted to give you guys a little bit of excitement there at the beginning, because I know this can be a heavy topic. I'm Cinthia, if you're meeting me for the first time. I'm a new mama. I just have a year and a 7-month-old daughter, just obsessed with her. I love Gilmore Girls, and I'm also a certified dog trainer that has taught me a lot in my business. And about 7 years ago, and that's the first picture here, I started my business. I actually went to LA to a conference. This was one of the first conferences I went to. And I was just so passionate about helping women and female founders with their Google Analytics. Eventually, I also pivoted into SEO, but initially I did start with Google Analytics. And so my mission is really to help women and small businesses get found in Google and change the world. And then I also have experience working with corporations like Avon, Sears, and Hyundai with their Google Analytics and with other web analytics tools. So it's given me quite a lot to work from. This second picture I took earlier this month. So I went to the same conference, 7 years later, and I was able to just keep feeding that soul food, right, that we need to keep our business going. And so I hope that you can use Google Analytics to inspire you, right, and to help you achieve that mission, the kind of impact you want to make in the world. All right, so enough about me. So why Google Analytics? I kind of already covered this, but the idea is that the more awareness we have around our numbers, and we can understand how to use these numbers, the faster we can reach our goals and kind of unlock this version of success that's ours. Now, I'm not saying that other people's methodologies that we try out and duplicate basically aren't useful, but I think we all need to find that path, right? And that awareness of like what's working for us instead of blindly copying other people, or necessarily just, if we're going to copy someone else, we have to make sure it's working for us, right? And so that's why a tool like Google Analytics helps us track that success, right? And those numbers at the end of the day. So here is your opportunity to choose. Like you see Google Analytics as something that's overwhelming and you want to avoid and ignore, or it can be this tool that you use to empower your marketing and content decisions and even bigger business decisions, right? I've seen clients use it to actually launch new products sometimes because of the data they've seen in there. Or again, there can be like a lot of decisions that go beyond marketing, but in this training, we're going to focus a lot on our marketing and our content. So decide and let's go for it. All right, so before we actually open the tool, and this is a tip that I recommend to everyone, is do not open the tool just expecting it to tell you something, because you're going to immediately get lost and overwhelmed. Instead, take even 5 minutes to connect with what your goals are right now and what the tool is going to help you with. We're going to get to that. But first, let's talk about our goals. So there might be different goals you have right now, like how much money you personally want to bring in from your business. And then also what your business needs to bring in to support you and your family, and maybe other money goals, right? You want to give back to your community. You want to give back to a specific, NGO or something. And so it's really important to be clear on these number goals, because surprise, we can track some of this stuff in Google Analytics. Maybe you also have some impact goals. So who do you want to deeply, like, who are you deeply here to help? Where do you want to change the world, right? To me, I know it sounds kind of cheesy, but I really feel like when you start a small business, you have some really clear change the world goals, because otherwise we'd all get like 9 to 5, right? And we would just feel like that's our mission, and that's fine. But to start your own business and to start on that adventure, there has to be like this really deep desire, something that happened in your life, right? And then also part of starting a business is this lifestyle idea. Like, what is the lifestyle you're building with your business? Maybe you want to work less to be with your family. I know, Jen, you love spending time with your grandkids. Maybe I love to travel as well. And I want to be able to travel with my baby and my boyfriend, and just to be able to have that freedom and to continue to run my business. So it's important to connect with this. And I mean, outside the context of Google Analytics, but it's important to check in with these goals and to write down some real numbers at the end of the day is going to be helpful, of like money and lifestyle and impact. All right, so now that we have kind of a sense, and again, this is like, we're going through this pretty quickly, but you can go back and do this exercise more deeply. Once you have your goals, you need to think about, okay, what are you doing to get there, right? What are like the actions that are going to start to trigger you to reach those goals? So the first thing is, what are you selling? Right? We're running businesses, so we need to be selling something. Maybe you're launching something. Maybe you've got a few things kind of on the back burner. And it doesn't have to be tons of things, right? I'm just saying, like, this is going to help us set up Google Analytics to track all this. Then when you think about what you're selling, what is the marketing channels that you're focusing on? So when I mean channels, I just mean different types of marketing. You might have your Pinterest, you might have your SEO, you have your email, maybe you've got some ads running, maybe you are doing affiliate marketing, maybe you're doing referral marketing. There's a lot we can do right now, right, to get what we're doing out in the world. And so again, if you're watching the replay or if you're watching this live, you can jot some things right now, but maybe later take the time to think a little bit more and just do a little pause on that. And then lastly, what does your content strategy look like? So when I mean content strategy, I think a lot of people freak out like, oh, it's this, what does that mean? Okay. It doesn't have to be super complex. I think it's just about understanding like how your marketing is working together. And I'm sure, Jen, this has happened to you too. Like when people think about Pinterest, it's like this whole other isolated thing. No, it needs to be tied in to the rest of your marketing. So for example, if you have a podcast, like both me and Jen have. How's your podcast like going to your emails? How is it connected with the things you're doing on Pinterest? Or, how is it all like, what's the ecosystem, right? And so this is also designed to help you not burn out and to make sure your content is working in a flow. So when I mean content strategy, I'm just saying like, how is all your marketing, your content playing together? Is this kind of cohesive, or is there at least like a flow of content that you're building? Like something else that I like to do a lot is I'll write blog posts that are quite meaty, and then those will break out into 10 or 20 different social media posts. Those will break out into 3 different podcast episodes, and then they also break out into email newsletters. And so suddenly maybe I spent a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks building this blog post, but that's actually 2 to 3 months of content. And so that's a strategy for me to sustainably continue to create and give back to the people in my audience. And it's also selling, right? That's important part of the strategy. It needs to sell and be connected with what you are selling in your business.
So I will say too, like a lot of people call it like their funnels, right?
Yes.
Some people have like a lead magnet and then it funnels to this service, or you want to think through when you're talking about content strategy, it's not just content creation, but also the flow of getting people to work with you. Where is that sort of conversion? So
exactly.
this is good. I legitimately have never thought of my goals first before going into Google Analytics. And I'm saying this, I'm outing myself right now saying this, because I know so many small business owners, we're so overwhelmed with all the work that we have to do that that's not even something that would even pop in our head. So thank you, and continue. I just wanted to make sure people feel heard.
No, and I really relate to that. I think we're all really busy. I don't want to like make this busy like this beautiful button that we're all showing off, right? I want it to be, okay, great, you're busy, but like, are you taking time monthly, quarterly to just pause and see what you're doing? Because I think it's so easy to get busy and to actually look at where is the impact. And so again, Google Analytics tells you that. It tells you, we're going to look at it right now, like, where are you getting your traffic from? What seems to be converting? So this kind of thing can be much more powerful to understanding if what you're doing is getting you a little closer to where you want to be. Okay, so this was the actual slide, but anyway, it's the same thing. All right, so this is a little bit of an example. So here I've got my course, and this works well to like what Jen was saying, like working your way backwards with your funnel. So I sell an SEO course, right? This is like a big part of my revenue strategy. And so the main pieces of marketing I use to sell that is I have a podcast, I have my blog and my SEO strategy, and then I have an email newsletter. And I'm very clear that all of these are kind of driving traffic, both when I'm live launching and when I'm not, they're driving traffic all the time. And then in terms of my content strategy, I'm very clear again that I have specific landing pages that are targeting SEO keywords all the time. Beauty of SEO, and same with Pinterest, right? It's working for you all the time. You set it up once, you have to maintain it. It's not perfect, but it's that generator. And then that traffic is also getting people to sign up to my email, and I have an opt-in. And then that's also selling the course, right? So these landing pages aren't by accident. They're thought out in a way where it's like, I believe that these kind of keywords are going to connect with someone who would eventually maybe be interested in an SEO course. Same thing with the podcast episodes. So the podcast episodes build that connection and that education, and they drive traffic to the website. And people like learn from me. They get to know my style of teaching. They get to know me, and they're like, yeah, I want to learn SEO. Cynthia's my girl. I've already learned like with all her episodes. So why not take it to the next level? And then this I already said, right? So once they sign up for my opt-in, they're in my email like newsletter, and I'm emailing them, I'm teaching them things. And then when I do live launches or whatever, the course is always open, so they can sign up when they want to. So this is kind of like, it could be a thought of as a content strategy, but anyway, I wanted to give you guys an example. All right, so let's get to the fun stuff. All right, so now you have your goals and you have like this idea. And again, we're going through this really fast so you guys can go back, pause, rewatch, and like really break this down for your own. Now we actually want to look at Google Analytics because now we have context, right? Previously, we're like, well, what's the tool telling me? I don't know, maybe something's working. No, now I'm like, okay, I want to know what marketing is going to really drive traffic to my SEO course, and I can really answer that question. And so we're going to look at 2 reports that are really designed to help you make business decisions around your marketing and your content. So the first one is called traffic acquisition. I'm going to show you exactly where to find it in Google Analytics 4, so don't worry. And you guys have access to this training forever too, so you can always go back. So the traffic acquisition report is going to answer this question of what marketing channels are bringing the most traffic to your website effectively. And so again, like I said, having that awareness of where am I spending my time right now with my marketing is going to help kind of bring context to that report. And then the second report is landing pages. So here we're looking more specifically at which pages on my website are playing a key role for conversion and sales. And so here, not only am I seeing what traffic I'm pulling in, but I'm also seeing eventually sales and conversions because Google Analytics tells us that.
I have one quick question.
Yes.
So I have my jenvasquezcoach.com, which is my main website, which will be turning into Jen Vasquez Media when I'm ready mentally to do that. But I have all of my funnels, all of my sign up, free education, paid education, membership is all in FG funnels. And that goes under the Pinterest Queen or Pinterest Strategy Academy, different URLs.
Right.
I've added those URLs to my Google Analytics so I can still see that content on there. This may be advanced and we might have to take this offline. I need to work with you seriously, but even though they're separate, I'm still able to go in and look at the landing page, traffic acquisition and landing pages for all these URLs so that I can then draw my conclusions, correct?
Absolutely. So if you have several domains, I recommend, and you've got, so those domains aren't redirecting or they have their, it sounds like they have their content living on there. Yeah.
Exactly correct.
Yeah. So in Google Analytics, you can, you set up your company and then you can set up your different website properties.
Analytic accounts. Yes.
Perfect.
I
You got the
okay,
setup
good.
right.
I just want to make sure. I did this a long time ago when I was going through your course, but I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah. Right. And we recently discovered that you can actually migrate properties. So if anybody's freaking out and they're like, I've got my account, this one over here, we actually discovered you can take a property and migrate it to just one. I guess it's account. So it's
one
account,
sort of login.
Property.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that it's okay if they're separate, but it's nice to have them all in one place.
For sure. I have them all under one login, but they're separate analytic accounts. Okay, perfect. Thanks.
Yeah.
I just know a lot of people are using other domains or other links for their education portals and things like that. And so we want to be able to pull that information.
Yeah. You want to look at everything, right? And see how it's all interacting with each other. Absolutely. Yeah, no, it's good. Good question. All right. So we're going to look at these 2 reports. So we're going to start with the traffic acquisition. So you guys see my pointer, right? Yeah. Okay. So here, this is Google Analytics 4. So it's the kind of newer, although it's been around for a few years. In the left side menu, you'll see under acquisition, traffic acquisition, and it all sounds very official, but basically it's where are we getting our traffic from? And so here, just kind of to reiterate, why are we looking at this? So we want to understand where I'm getting the most valuable traffic, so website traffic, and how I can plan my next launch around this. So I'm thinking this for my SEO course, just to give you guys kind of an example, but this can be for anything. And I do highly recommend thinking about a specific goal, because like we just said, it's just going to be so much more motivating, right? So you can look at your Google Analytics and in general see, okay, this is where I'm getting my traffic from in general, blah, blah, blah. But we are busy. So what are you planning next? What are you selling next? Are you thinking about the holidays? I'm sure lots of you are thinking about holidays. You're thinking about next year, right? So think about one specific goal and start to think about what you're going to be selling and how you're going to be selling it. And now look at the report, right? And so that's going to change how you read the report as well. So I'm thinking about my SEO launch, my next SEO course launch. And so here, this report can answer this question of which marketing channels are getting the more visitors and visits to my website for this launch. All right. So this is the report itself. Now, why am I showing you a screenshot of the report? So this is a little tip I have, especially if you find the reports overwhelming. I recommend analyzing the data with screenshots for several reasons. First of all, you can kind of do what I did here, which is block out areas of the report so that you're analyzing one thing at a time. The other thing that's kind of cool is you can screenshot, put it in a Google Doc, and then start to write your notes at the bottom. And so this is going to give you, I love Jen's face. You're like, best reaction.
That is literally brilliant, because that's exactly how my mind works. I'm so glad you said that. I never would have thought about it. Oh.
Yeah, because the other thing is you can start. So this is an exercise, right? We're going to analyze this report together. And if I have this in a Google Doc, I can save this. And over time, I'm like slowly like documenting my different analysis, right? So it serves different purposes. But the idea is to really take out the overwhelm. So before we actually start to analyze, I do want to point out here that I am analyzing the last 90 days or so of traffic. So I pulled this report about a month ago, but I would recommend looking at 90 days. If you've got a lot of traffic, you can look at like a month, but basically the more traffic you have, the more you have to work with. And depending how much traffic you have coming in, you'll be looking at different amounts, but I have 90 days. So here, I want to just, before looking at real numbers, we're going to look at what this first column means. So traffic acquisition, right? So we're talking about different marketing. So direct means someone who's typing in my website potentially, or copying and pasting it. They might also have a bookmark. So those are kind of like different ways someone can find you via direct. And it's very commonly the first one, because when someone gets to know you, they're probably just typing it in the browser. It could also be you. And I'm not going to cover it in this session, but there's ways to filter out your team and your traffic so that you're not seeing the multiple visits that we all make to our own site each day. Organic search is SEO, search marketing, not paid. So organic just means not paid. Organic social is not paid social. So here, this could be Pinterest, it could be Instagram, it could be Facebook, it could be any of the social medias, TikTok. But it's
heads up.
Yes.
For the first time ever, because I've been really working on my SEO.
Yes.
For the first time ever looking at this report, organic search is number one before direct.
Wow.
That
yes, of course it is.
787 versus 390 for direct. So
right.
Thank you is all I'm going to say. Because
no.
without you, I don't think I would have gotten there. Like that makes me real happy. Okay. Go ahead.
That's so exciting, Jen. Oh man. All right, let's keep going. All right. Referral is other sites. So this can be like any other site that sends you traffic. It could be intentional and unintentional. So let's say, well, Jen has featured me on her podcast, and I've featured, we haven't done a podcast. We need to get you on my podcast as well. But anyway, let's say Jen is from her site is sending me traffic. So here that would be kind of referral. And again, I can break it down further. I'm not going to show you guys right now, but all of these can be broken down a little further. Unassigned are just things that maybe from a technical point of view haven't been assigned. Sometimes this can be email traffic. In my case, it might be where the right value isn't getting assigned. And so Google Analytics just has to give it something. And so it's good good area to investigate to see how we can improve that. And then organic videos, YouTube or Vimeo or whatever, but not paid. So organic. Okay, great. So now we know these. It's okay if you've got other values here that aren't like mine, that's fine. Don't worry. Everything's normal. There's no weirdness. But I did want to cover, those are kind of the most popular ones. All right, so let's uncover the first line. We're taking it slow here. So the first line here, and this is how I recommend to analyze it. This is kind of what I do, guys. Exactly. I block out numbers on my screen because my brain starts to look at everything. Now, after doing this for years and years, I'm able to kind of, I'm really fast, right? And I'm not good at numbers. But I can start to analyze quickly. But when you're starting out, your brain looks at everything, right? So this is a great tip. Just take a square in your, Google Docs and block out things. It's fine. All right. So the first column here is telling me how many people, users, are coming from this direct. So this would be 480. Then sessions are visits. And then we start to get an engaged session. So one of the cool things with Google Analytics 4 is that Google Analytics automatically starts to track when people click, when people scroll, when people engage on our site. So they've created this metric called engaged sessions. And so it tells us, okay, out of all these visitors, this number seemed to be a little bit more interacting on our site. So again, it's kind of interesting to look at. I'm not too obsessed with this one. This one is average engagement time per session. So this is like how much time someone is spending interacting on our sites from direct, right? So I just wanted to walk through this. So if I scroll all the way to the back, and I haven't in this screenshot, I can also track opt-ins, I can track sales. And so this is kind of the baseline metric you can start with, but then you can also set up Google Analytics to tell you how many people signed up to my email newsletter, for example, or how much money can I have made from each of these different channels. All right. So now this is the full report. So now if I were to look at this, I can see that yes, direct is very popular, but organic search is, I would say, the most powerful because this is a true marketing channel. I have my sessions here. And then if I analyze my engagement time, I can see that SEO and people coming from different search engines are the most engaged at 30 seconds approximately per visit, right? So that's per visit. All right, so see how we broke that down. And so suddenly you might have like more questions, which is normal. And so that's when you can like break things down even more. You can filter. There's this little search bar here. So here you can filter all these, each one, and analyze them individually. But this is kind of, again, we're beginners, right? We're just starting out. So if I were to analyze this report, these are some of the conclusions and analysis I would make. First of all, my SEO is definitely the strongest out of all my marketing channel in the last 90 days. Social media has potential, right? So it seems to be the runner-up, but there's like things I need to work on, maybe to improve how much time people are spending, or even just to get more traffic, right? So that's good. And then the email campaigns, I think, need to be worked on because I want to actually be able to track them. So email does come up. It should come up, but it's not coming up. So these are like some simple. So now see how this is like so much more, it gives me so much more context because now I can take this. And then when I'm planning my next marketing quarter, I can suddenly be like, okay, SEO is doing well. Okay, let's see how we can have it to sell more of my course or more email signups. I want to work on how my emails are showing up. So I'm going to actually do that. I'm going to take some time to set that up and make sure the tracking is right. So it's not this like in the air thing. This is literally like a task list for me to take into consideration for the next year, next quarter, whatever. All right. So let's go to the next report. Maybe you guys are kind of like processing, but let's keep going. So this one is landing pages. So again, if you look at the left side menu, this one's under engagement and it's called landing page. And so all that means is that it's that first page of the visit that's what it is, right? So it's called landing. If we think about a plane or something, it's landing on our site. Again, this is very technical language. These aren't, to me, these are like geeky engineers who are like making up these names and things. So why are we looking at this report? So we're understanding the pages on my site that are playing a role in getting me leads and sales. So because it's that first visit, that means that that page is like sticky, right? It either has SEO keywords or it's getting traffic from some other place, right? And so I'm sending traffic intentionally to that page, which is a strategy, right? And something I want to be aware of. And so this report can answer the question of which pages on my site are bringing traffic and like effectively bringing traffic. All right, so again, I'm doing a little bit of hide and seek here. So the first column is the actual page. So in my case, I have a guide that has been very successful for me. It's a keywords for health and wellness guide. And so it's a guide that goes quite in depth of like how to research and use keywords for health and wellness sites. And it can actually be used for anybody, but it's niche down. So that one is doing well. Then that slash by itself, that's actually the home page. So for all of you, you'll see that slash, lonely slash, that's your home page. That's totally normal. And then not set is also normal. Again, this could be many different things, but at the end of the day, we just need to kind of ignore it for now. We could eventually work on that, but I'm not going to get into it. It's not worth right now, the training. But if you have a not set, don't worry, nothing's weird. You're fine. Then I have a technical versus content SEO guide, which is also a podcast. I have my Instagram links, and then I have my 6-month SEO plan, my about page, and then, a few other things. So again, it takes a moment just to be like, okay, what's going on in that first column before we actually get to the numbers. All right, so if we look at that first row, we see that this guide brought in about 300 visits in the last 90 days. I can analyze and be like, whoa, 290 of those were new people. So that's really interesting for me because that's really what I want that guide to do. I want new people to find me, probably mostly SEO, people with like searching keywords for my health business or keywords for my wellness business. And so they're finding me and they're new. Then I can also analyze how much time people are spending. So 29 seconds, not a lot. I could work on, improving that and upping that. And then here is what I was talking about before. I can actually see the amount of conversions. So in this case, I believe that this is only tracking my email opt-ins. So I can see that in the last 90 days, out of all these visits, I got six email signups. So that's interesting. That's interesting to me. Could that be higher? Probably. What do I need to work on? So my brain is already starting to think about, okay, this is like something I can improve on, something I can measure and I can work towards. And so now if I go to the next slide, we can do this for all the pages and I can start to compare and contrast and see, are there pages that seem to be getting more time? So my about page is 44 seconds and I'm curious to know why. Maybe I can go back and analyze that.
And you had a conversion on that page.
Yes, I had a conversion.
A call or a form or
yeah, I have an opt-in happening. So again, sometimes it's not always about like looking at what's not working. It's actually looking at what's working and seeing how I can like improve on that or replicate that, right? So I might go back and see, oh, that about page, what do I have? What's going on that page that seems to be working well? And how can I duplicate that on other pages? So all these yeah, go ahead.
Well, I have a quick question
that
I think people might be here. So I have zeros all the way down. And I know people have reached out to me. Is that because I have to set up conversions in Google Analytics?
Yes, that's okay. I didn't say that at all. So
no,
yes,
that's okay. That's what I assumed. And maybe that could be a training in the future because that's something I don't know about. Again, I don't know how detailed, if it's even worth a masterclass, but yeah, because that would be really way more motivating to have that set up. That might be a really good YouTube video or podcast for you. I don't know about podcasts, but for sure the YouTube video.
Yeah, no, I mean, we're just starting, right? So
Yeah,
I designed
for
this
sure.
training for like kind of, we don't know anything, we're just
This is
starting,
perfect.
but the next step would be to set this up. And I guess I wanted to show you guys the potential behind it, right? And I think you guys
Yeah.
get that. But yes, setting up conversion, it does require some customization. I would say really to make full use of the tool, there's a few things that you need to customize. Some of it I do cover in the course. But yeah, maybe we can do another one that's like a little bit more
Well,
of a
and I
configuration.
I constantly educate on, and I'll say this throughout different educations. Every month, you want to see the top 5 blog posts so that you can either create another one because they do real well, right? If they're doing well, they're telling, like for me, it's all about affiliate links. That is
Yes,
always crazy for me, right? Which I hate covering, but everyone wants to know how to do it. So that, but also too, I look at the top 5 blog posts in a month so that I can choose one of those to beef up. So maybe it's from last year, maybe it's from 3 years ago. And with Pinterest, I
yes.
don't want old information being some of my top pages. So that's the first place I go to see what I'm going to update, because I do a little bit of updating blog posts as well as creating new blog posts to keep everything fresh.
Absolutely. That's the SEO strategy. And it's a very different mindset. We've talked about that, Jen, where it's like, oh, I don't need to create new stuff all the time. I mean, yes, that is, you want to keep your site fresh, but once you've got the ball rolling, it
Yeah.
is more about maintaining what's there. And maybe for some of you, if it's the first time looking at this, you're like even thinking about, oh, I didn't even know that page was getting me traffic. How can I add an opt-in or sell something on that page? Because that's immediate, like that's immediate sales, right? If you're already getting traffic there and you sell something that's relevant to that traffic, I'm not saying just like pop in whatever, like think about, okay, why is someone coming in there? And you can sell what's already like getting you that visibility. So I kind of did this with this one. I initially had an opt-in, and then I switched the opt-in to something that I felt was more relevant, and it did start to convert better. And then that opt-in was also designed, it was kind of selling a smaller course I have, and so I did get some sales there. So there's some ways to kind of like really make some easy money, I guess, with what's already working, instead of, I think a lot of us is like, what do I need to do new? What's like the new thing that I need to do? And it's kind of addictive versus like what's working and what are those small tweaks that I'm making, to get to what I want to do, right? And to sell more easily.
And
Uh,
from your education too, like I've added videos to some of my blog posts.
yes.
And I can see right now in the analytics that they have far more time spent on that website
Right.
because they're
Yes.
watching the video, which also improves my YouTube channel. Like when they're
Yes.
watching it on a web, right? So and I learned that from your education. And so if there's a blog post that you want to rank, consider putting
Yes.
you in like a freebie on there, consider putting a
Mhm.
video on there, even a like an Instagram video. Like it doesn't have
Yes.
to necessarily be a YouTube video. So
Absolutely. Yeah.
all
Yeah,
right.
or an infographic, like images kind of break out the text. There's a lot of tips there, but I think the whole idea is like what's working, how can we optimize what's working, and just use it to our advantage, right? So again, if I were to kind of do a little bit of analysis here, my keyword guide, the first line is really good, but again, I'm kind of playing around with different opt-ins. And I'm thinking about my course, right? Same thing with the technical versus content SEO guide. My opt-in needs to be tweaked. And then for my 6-month SEO plan, I think I could probably improve the traffic on there. And so I would want to go back and like look at what SEO I'm doing on that page and just like maybe improve that page, I think I do have a podcast episode, but maybe I need to add like another video or something, maybe explaining something specific. I can do a little more research. And so it's, again, isn't this such a relief? Like suddenly Google Analytics isn't this like to-do thing. It's like, oh, this is like actually helping me and giving me a list of items that I can now decide how I prioritize, but it's very specific and it's very strategic. And it's also things that are exciting to do, right? I want to improve some of these things. And so the data is giving me, like, backing me up in my decision, right?
Yeah, it makes you
Yeah.
also, when you've done work on your website or you've done work
Yes.
on blogs, it is
Yes.
the number one way that I get rewarded. I mean, obviously growing my business is reward also, but it's
Yes.
nice to see the numbers move because I actually made them move from
Yes.
making decisions on them. So thank you for that.
Yeah, no, it is motivating. Just like when we make more money, it's motivating. Why wouldn't it be, right? So it's the same thing. Okay, so now what? So we've got some actions, but I want to break it down. So we're connecting with our goals and our desires again, like going back to the beginning of, like, what am I selling? Because maybe some of the data is telling us stuff, but it's not connected with what we want to sell and really what we want to do, right? And so we can start to ask some of these questions. So which trends and results from the reports align with the actions I want to take? Which results don't really interest me as much? So here what can happen, and this is totally okay. Maybe you're seeing something in the reports that are like, that's working, but it's not really what you want to do, right? So whether it's a specific page on your site that maybe you're not promoting as much right now, maybe it is a type of marketing that you're not as excited. So for me, for example, social media is something that is, to me, like a big black hole. Like, it takes up so much time, but sometimes it's like just never enough. And so to me, like something like Instagram, I'm like just letting myself off the hook and like focusing on other things in my business. Not because I don't want to, but it's just like right now in the season of life I'm in with my baby, I just can't sit down and like film tons of reels and stuff. And I'm okay with that. So see how like it's empowering me, and it's not like this guilt thing of like, oh, I should be doing it. It's like, no, I'm just really aware of where I am right now. And I know that if I focus on my podcast, on my referral marketing, and my blog, I'm going to get to my goals faster because I feel like that's where I'm going to get more traction. So I can let it go and I can focus on the areas that I want to focus on, even though the data is telling me, hey, you are getting some traffic from here. And then like we just said too, like there's probably tons of other questions you have as you're going through these reports. And so we're doing like an hour training here. You guys can go back and start to poke around a little bit more. And like, what are those other questions that you have that you need answers to either now or in the future? So using this kind of documentation method of screenshotting, write down your other questions, because these might be future experiments that you continue to ask yourself with Google Analytics. And so, like I just said, just prioritize. We can sometimes go all in with what our data is telling us. And sometimes we can be like, you know what, I'm going to go in a different direction. It doesn't always have to be like black or white, but it's usually like a combination. But the idea is that we're the CEO, we make the decision. And just the fact we have this awareness is already incredible, right? Because we're just doing it from a really different perspective. All righty. So like this is another example. Let's say like this technical and content guide, it would take me a lot of time to update it. So I want to, but right now it's not a priority. So I'm going to make a note. I'm going to make a note to come back to it in a few months before I'm ready to launch again. And so I can like follow my desire instead of being forced to like update something I don't want to update. So there's different seasons. Sometimes we just do things because we know we have to do them. And other times we're like, you know what, I'm going to put this on the back burner. And I think this is like the key to a successful business is prioritizing, measuring our energy. We can't do it all. It's just a big lie. And so kind of connected with this is over time, as we look at our data more and more and get familiar, and like, we're going to kind of unlock the marketing channels that are working together in this magical way that is leading us to the results we want to get to. And Google Analytics is going to help build that awareness that no one else can give you, really, because you can learn from everybody, but you need to be aware of what's going on in your home, right? On your online home, with your marketing, with your website. So focusing on the areas that are getting you results. And then many cases we're rinse and repeating, right? So maybe you're in a season of a lot of experimentation and that's great. But you want to make sure that that experimentation is being measured as well. So you can do both, right? So we want to have areas of our business that are consistent and stable, bringing us those sales. And then we have areas where we're being creative and experimenting, and we're measuring it so that we're also understanding what the results of those are. So that's the beauty of something like Google Analytics, because we're doing both and we're measuring both things. So again, just kind of like a little bit of a bonus thing here is when you're thinking about experimentation, here are some things you can take into consideration when you're thinking about Google Analytics. So first of all, what are the questions you have before launching, before selling, before putting that thing out there that you want to understand with your strategy, with your marketing, right? So this can help you, like writing these questions about like what's working, what's not working, what pages are you focusing on? Are they converting? Like all those kind of things. Having those questions out will help you down the line find the answers in Google Analytics. And so again, like what information would you like to see in Google Analytics? And then lastly, do you need to put any routines and rituals in place to getting more acquainted with your website marketing and content data? So again, if you're launching something, do you need to have like a pre-launch data check-in and a post-launch check-in, right? Or do you need to, start looking at your Google Analytics every month or every quarter? Like, what are those routines? Because just like everything else in our business, this is a skill that we want to build over time. And the more we're able to do it consistently instead of reacting, the better we're going to get at analyzing and getting to know our data. All right, so this is kind of what Jen was asking me. So I want to now understand like the tracking that and the conversion, right? So for your specific business, what are you tracking that you would consider success? Whether it's email signups, whether it's sales, those are like the biggest one for most of us, right? Like how much sales are we bringing in from different pages, from different marketing channels, from different things we're doing. And so that's why I created my Blooming Metrics service. So this is really exciting. It's been a while since I've kind of
very excited about this.
Yes. It's been a while since I've offered a setup Google Analytics service. And I guess I was waiting for Google Analytics to fully migrate over, but now it is. And so we're all on this new platform and it's there. So this is a done for you as well as a done with you service. And so I love to teach. And so it's inevitably impregnated into all my services. So what's included? So it's a setup of your Google Analytics 4. That includes up to 10 conversion events. So what that means is that whatever you're selling, your emails, your opt-ins, up to 10 things you can ask me, and me and my team will set up the conversion in Google Analytics 4 so that we're able to measure what's happening, right? And how people are getting to that. So it's kind of cool because we actually do this part for you. We do record it as well. So you guys can like see behind the scenes how it happens. And so you're able to take that as like a little bit of a private training of how we set that up. And then there's 2 calls included. So the first call is to understand your goals, kind of like what we did in this training. So I sit down, I ask you some questions in a form before the call. And then in the call, we talk about like, what are you experimenting right now? Like, what are your goals? And like, how do you want Google Analytics to support you there? So that call is to not only understand where you're at in your business, but to make sure that Google Analytics is actually going to give you those answers, right? Because otherwise it's kind of like a waste of time, right? And then we wait about 4 to 6 weeks, and then we have a second call because the idea is that we'll set up the conversion, and then in about a month and a half, we actually sit down and look at the reporting together. Yay! And so you get my analysis and you get that training of like, okay, this is how to like look at the specific reports and measure the results. And so this can be really exciting because I think it's kind of like this perfect setup, but also personalized training of like, what the hell do I need to be doing in Google Analytics? So right now, there is a bit of a bonus. As always, I like to give you guys a little bonus with Jen. So if you sign up in the next 24 hours, you get a full SEO audit. which has been really popular with the latest